Managing file-based workloads on network attack storage hardware is often complex, difficult to scale, and costly. Amazon FSx for Windows File Server is the first and only fully managed Windows file system built on Windows Server, providing the full capability, performance, and rich features required for Windows-based workloads. In this session, you will learn how to future-proof your file-based workloads with some of the new features of Amazon FSx for Windows File Server. Hi, my name is Daryl Osborne, and I'm a Principal Solutions Architect with Amazon FSx. In today's session, I'll give you an overview of Amazon FSx for Windows File Server and walk through a few common scenarios and customer use cases. I'll then talk about some of the new capabilities specifically designed to optimize on-premises file-based workloads with recent integration with AWS Storage Gateway. I'll do a demo of dynamically scaling storage capacity of a file system based on a CloudWatch alarm, and how to set up Amazon FSx File Gateway and demo some of the performance benefits of using it from locations that have higher latencies and lower bandwidth network connections. I'll then finish up talking about some of the data migration solutions available on AWS. Files or unstructured data is everywhere, and data is growing exponentially. Companies typically use shared file storage for their Windows users and Windows-based applications. Some common use cases include multi-site high availability file shares, third-party business-critical applications requiring shared file storage, Windows container storage, and file storage for Microsoft SQL Server databases. Customers typically needed to provision shared storage either on-premises or in the cloud as network-attached storage or NAS devices. They need to deploy and manage a file server that supported the SME protocol and then continuously plan and provision storage hardware to meet the growing capacity needs of their users and applications. So files are everywhere, and running your own shared file storage is not easy. Managing both the on-premises storage hardware and software have a consistent set of challenges regardless of the technology being used. First, there's cost, both for procuring the hardware and also unforeseen and sometimes hidden costs. You always need to consider the upfront capital expense, or CapEx, when you have high upfront capital investment. There's guesswork on how much storage you will need, guesswork on the types of drives, a mix of SSD versus hard drives. There's additional costs of software, backup, and disaster recovery. There's warranty renewals, and of course, the physical considerations of space, power, and cooling. You don't have instant, as-needed scalability when you deploy on-prem hardware. Need to scale up? You will have to pay for more trays, racks, rooms, and data centers. This isn't easy, and often the features that you need, such as replication for disaster recovery or business continuity, and you find out that you need to pay more just to enable those basic features you expect when this feature should be delivered as a part of the product. I mentioned replication. What if you need replication? What happens if it's a requirement? You may need to deploy the same infrastructure in another data center and use licensed products and tools to sync data between sites. Not only does this likely double the cost of hardware, but you'll need to add network, data center racks, and you will also need more staff, which will factor into your total cost. Then there is ongoing management overhead. Who is going to make sure your on-premises storage arrays are kept up to date and kept running for your end users? You also have to make sure that you detect and address any hardware failures and be quick to replace failed drives and arrays to ensure no data loss or interruption to your users. In addition to the challenges of managing the hardware, customers also have to manage the software, including installing the OS, the file system software, applying updates, managing licenses, performing and managing backups, and managing the security of all file data. Of all of this is all considered undifferentiated heavy lifting. AWS delivers the broadest file portfolio in cloud today, bar none. Amazon EFS provides serverless shared file storage with single-click integration into container services like ECS and EKS, and AWS Lambda and Fargate to build end-to-end serverless applications. FSx for Windows File Server offers the lowest cost file storage in the cloud for applications that want to use the industry standard SMB protocol. It's built on Windows Server and has the capabilities and performance that NAS-based applications require. If it's speed you're looking for, FSx for Lustre is purpose-built for processing your data sets fast, giving you hundreds of gigabytes per second of throughput in sub-millisecond latencies. It's not just the breadth, but it's also the depth of capabilities that customers like about our file storage services. We provide feature-rich and highly performant file systems fully managed by AWS in Amazon FSx for Windows File Server. It covers a broad spectrum of workloads, including home directories, content management systems, virtual desktops, and highly available SQL Server failover cluster instance deployments. It's built on Windows Server, a platform you're very familiar with. We have a number of different deployment and storage options and features that gives you the flexibility to use FSx for Windows File Server the way you want. Migrating your data to Amazon FSx is easy using AWS DataSync, which transfers your data securely and efficiently from your existing SMB shares. Amazon FSx provides the compatibility with enterprise features and functionality for your workload needs. It works natively with customers' operating systems via the industry standard SMB protocol, keeping application compatibility intact and no changes required to existing applications with virtually no downtime. Once on AWS, customers can unlock new value from their data with other AWS services and modernize their infrastructure. For your native Windows workloads and users, or your SMB clients, FSx for Windows File Server provides all of the benefits of a native Windows SMB environment that is fully managed and secured, and scaled like any other AWS service. You get detailed reporting, replication, backup, failover, and support for native Windows tools like DFS and Active Directory. And you can simplify the actual migration process by leveraging storage and data transfer services that are fully compatible with the features and functionality you need. The result of this type of seamless migration support is what our customers say, it just works. Amazon FSx provides durability and availability. With availability, Amazon FSx automatically replicates data within an availability zone, and we continuously monitor and address hardware failures at the storage and server layer. You can always choose a multi-AZ configuration which provides fully managed synchronous replication between availability zones, with automated failover and failback for higher availability. It is analogous to running two separate nearby data centers on-prem, each with their own file storage array and replication. But with Amazon FSx, you deploy this with a simple checkbox option, and then it's fully managed by AWS. For durability, you have the option of running snapshots with Microsoft Shadow copies for local file and folder recovery options at the user level, or FSx backups to S3 for long-term archiving and compliance with even with the S3 11.9s of durability. When FSx launched in 2018, we had a single offering, our single AZ SSD-based storage for 13 cents per gigabyte month. In 2019, we announced multi-AZ SSD, meaning we keep a full second copy of the file server and data with synchronous level replication for less than twice the cost, passing savings on to you. Then earlier in 2020, we announced a new cost-effective HDD tier. The new HDD tier is priced at 1/10 the cost of SSD-based storage, providing the lowest cost SMB file shares in the cloud starting at 1.3 cents per gigabyte month for single AZ. And you can still get great performance out of HDD as you're allowed to choose your performance independently, which provides a level of network throughput performance and in-memory SSD caching that you can select. And with data deduplication, we see customers achieve effective rates of storage for less than a penny per gigabyte per month. Amazon FSx integrates with a broad range of other AWS services like Amazon VPC an AWS Data Sync, and AWS Backup. Using Amazon EC2, you can access Amazon FSx file shares from Windows, Linux, and even Mac EC2 instances. Amazon FSx is available in all commercial AWS regions, plus GovCloud East and West. Amazon provides two ways to protect data. First, Amazon FSx provides file or folder level restores to previous versions by supporting Windows shadow copies, which are snapshots of your file system at a point in time. With shadow copies enabled, your end users can view and restore individual files or folders from a particular snapshot with the click of a button in Windows File Explorer. And Amazon FSx provides backups that are full file system consistent, incremental, and highly durable. To ensure file system consistency, Amazon FSx uses Windows Volume Shadow Copy Service, allowing you to restore to a point-in-time snapshot of your file system. To ensure high durability, Amazon FSx stores backups in Amazon S3, and you can use AWS Backup to create backup plan automation. Here in my demo, I'm going to walk you through how to dynamically increase the storage capacity of a file system based on Amazon CloudWatch Alarm. In managing the storage capacity section of the user guide, we can read more about the solution and resources used. It also gives you a way to automate the deployment of this solution using AWS CloudFormation. To start using the solution, you can download the increased FSx size CloudFormation template from the user guide, and you can use it to deploy the solution as a CloudFormation stack. I've already started this process and have entered in all the necessary parameters. I'll walk you through the CloudFormation Stack wizard and click Create Stack at the end. After a few minutes, the stack creation is complete, and I can go and verify that my CloudWatch Alarm was successfully created. From the CloudWatch console, I can see the alarm has an OK status. I want to view the free storage capacity metric and alarm in a larger window, so I'll open up the alarm in a metrics window. Here we can see the blue line is the free storage capacity metric, and the red dotted line is the alarm we just set up using CloudFormation. I want to go ahead and set up the auto refresh of the graph, and I'll change the time window to view just metrics within the last hour. On a Windows EC2 instance, I have an FSx Windows file server share mounted, and I'll use disk speed to write data to my file system to consume storage space. For the sake of time, I've sped up the video. After a few minutes, the free storage capacity drops below the alarm threshold, and the alarm status changes from OK to an alarm. Now, from the FSx console, I can see the file system storage capacity is automatically being updated to the larger size. I received 2 emails about this event. The first notifies me that the alarm status changed from OK to an alarm, and the second notifies me that the solution is attempting to increase the storage capacity of the file system. So within minutes, you can easily have this level of functionality added to your file system using the solution. FSx for Windows File Server covers a wide spectrum of use cases, including general purpose file shares, line of business applications, and content management systems. It's also heavily used in desktop and virtual streaming environments. Many customers also use data protection and deployment and by deploying highly available SQL Server failover cluster instances. Venerable was tasked with a short time to depart from their data center as a part of the diversity of their annuity business. They chose AWS to avoid the cost and overhead of building out a new data center and needed something with greater agility and easier management with their hundreds of users for processing financial data. Using Amazon FSx for Windows File Server, Venerable was able to migrate 6 months earlier than expected, resulting in significant savings. They migrated hundreds of users leveraging their Windows file storage, and they were able to process their large financial risk modeling files. Epic, the largest e-discovery service worldwide, was tasked with reducing costs of their e-discovery platform, which relies on shared storage for a variety of platforms, to assist legal firms in electronic discovery to prepare for court cases. As their cloud-based platform grew, it became challenging to manage file storage themselves, and cost of storage was increasing. Amazon FSx for Windows File Server with Epic was able to replace several hundred terabytes of self-managed Windows file shares with fully managed SMB file storage. Amazon FSx provides a common file share between their various e-discovery platforms, including Relativity, Nuix, and Obvi. Emirates Airlines migrated their core booking engines to AWS, leveraging Amazon FSx to provide reliable file shares for their content management system. They are delighted with the 37% performance increase and improved reliability that they're now experiencing. Customers are looking to replace file share infrastructure, but they have challenges with high latency and limited bandwidth connectivity issues. Amazon FSx File Gateway is a new gateway that provides customers with low latency and efficient access to in-cloud FSx for Windows File Server file shares from their on-premises facilities. Now customers can maintain their on-premises storage because of latency or bandwidth limitations. They can now instead use Amazon FSx File Gateway for seamless access to fully managed, highly available, and virtually unlimited Windows file shares provided in the AWS cloud by FSx for Windows File Server. This is a sample Amazon FSx File Gateway architecture. The FSx File Gateway is typically deployed on premises as a virtual or hardware appliance, connected to AWS over a VPN or AWS Direct Connect. An Amazon FSx for Windows File Server is attached to an FSx File Gateway, and Amazon FSx is the primary storage platform for this type of storage gateway. Frequently accessed data can be cached locally in the gateway, providing great performance for shared file storage, durably stored in FSx for Windows File Server in AWS, but accessed over high latency and low bandwidth network connections, typically found in remote and branch offices. Here in my next demo, I don't have an on-premises data center where I can deploy my FSx File Gateway. So what I'm going to be doing is using two AWS regions. I'll be using US West 2 or Oregon region to simulate my on-premises environment, and with my FSx for Windows File Server being deployed in the US East 1 Northern Virginia region. I'll connect to a Windows EC2 instance in US West 2, map a drive direct to the FSx for Windows File Server in US East 1. I'll also map a drive to the FSx File Gateway, which is deployed in US West 2, the same region as my Windows EC2 instance. Here from the Gateway console, I can go ahead and select Create a Gateway. Select Amazon FSx File Gateway as the type of gateway to deploy. Here we have a number of different options: VMware, Microsoft Hyper-V, Linux KVM, Amazon EC2 Linux, or Amazon EC2 or hardware appliance. I'll go ahead and select Amazon EC2. Here there's two different types of endpoints I could use, public or VPC. In this example, I'm going to use public. I'm going to go ahead and copy the IP address of a gateway that I've already deployed in the US West 2 region. I copy the public IP address and paste it into the console. Next, to configure and activate the gateway, I want to go ahead and select the time zone of the gateway, where the gateway resides in, and give it a name, FSx File Gateway Demo. I'll go ahead and activate the gateway. I'll configure the storage in the local disks. I'll create a new log group associated with my gateway. And finally, I'll finish creating the gateway. Now that the gateway is created, I could attach an FSX file system to it. I'll select the gateway that I just created. Then I can enter in the Active Directory information to join that gateway to an Active Directory. I already have one created, so I'll go ahead and use the one that's already created for this demo. The file gateway that I already created has an IP address of 172.31.32.31. So I'm going to go ahead and use this IP address to connect from my EC2 instance to my gateway. I'm going to use a UNC path to connect to that share. I'm going to go back to the console and I'm going to go ahead and grab the DNS name of my FSX for Windows File Server and also use UNC path to go ahead and connect to that. And remember, this is accessing from US West 2 all the way to US East 1. I have a number of different files here that I'm going to go ahead and test. There's a 100 record CSV file, and what I'm going to do is sort of evaluate how long it takes to open these files from the different resources. So that one only took about a second, and that was going all the way back to the file system. This was just as fast, but again, it's only a 13 kilobyte file. If we take a look at a 1 million record CSV file, I'm going to go ahead and start timing this. And for the sake of time, I sped up the timer, and I can see that it took about 13.3 seconds to open that file from FSX for Windows File Server. If I open up that same file from the gateway, I can see that it only takes me about just a little over a second to go ahead and open that file up. I have a little larger file as well. I have a 5 million record CSV file that I'm going to go ahead and open up directly from FSX for Windows File Server. Again, for the sake of time, I sped up the video. We can see that it took me about 49-50 seconds to go ahead and open up that file directly from FSX for Windows File Server. If I do that same test, accessing the file from the FSX file gateway, we can see that it's only going to take about 5.5 seconds to open up that file. So a big difference. Typically, I've seen about a 10x performance improvement when accessing files from an FSX file gateway versus accessing a file remotely over a long distance connection. Here I've got a video of a side-by-side ride I did a couple of years ago. And this video I'm actually trying to run from my EC2 instance directly from the FSX for Windows File Server in US East 1. So as you can see, the video is running, but I'm not getting anything. I really can't view it. So I'm going to let this run for about 30 seconds, and it never displays correctly. I'm going to go ahead and close this. I'm going to try to run the same file, but this time from the FSX file gateway. As you can see, the video is very clear. The performance is just as good as if you were running it local on your machine. But yet this is running from the FSX file gateway that is being hosted within that same, in my case, the same region as my Windows EC2 instance. Now, even if I went back and tried to watch that video again from FSX Windows File Server in US East 1, even though some of it has already been cached on this machine, I still am unable to really view the video. It still never completely renders here on my local EC2 instance, and it just is not a good experience for your end users. So in 2020, we launched quite a few enhancements to our data migration and data transfer portfolio. including a brand new service as well as a new bundle of features. The AWS Transfer family provides fully managed support for file transfers directly into and out of Amazon S3. At reInvent 2018, we launched AWS Transfer for SFTP, which has become a very popular service, and it enables you to easily and seamlessly modernize your file transfer workloads. You also don't have to worry about managing servers, which is a huge benefit. We also saw the need to provide support for FTPS and FTP to make it even easier to migrate your file transfer workloads, which is why earlier in the year, we launched AWS Transfer for FTPS and AWS Transfer for FTP. Since then, we launched the availability of AWS Transfer family in GovCloud regions and announced support for FIPS 140-2 compliant endpoints in US and Canada regions to protect sensitive information. And just last month, we launched support for Amazon VPC hosted server endpoints in centrally managed and shared Amazon VPC environments, helping you meet your compliance requirements. In AWS DataSync online data transfer front, as a part of your AWS Snowcone launch in June, we also announced that DataSync comes pre-installed on your Snowcone device, enabling you to transfer data online to and from the cloud without needing to ship the device back to AWS for data ingest. We also announced fully automated transfer between AWS storage services with DataSync. Now with DataSync, you can simplify and automate and accelerate moving data between on-premises storage systems and AWS storage services, as well as between AWS storage services. Using AWS DataSync to migrate makes the task very easy. DataSync then sets up a secure tunnel and migrates your files into Amazon FSx for Windows File Server from the DataSync agent. The entire data movement uses SMB, so it is the same protocol throughout. This means no refactoring and no re-architecting. I'm really excited about this feature. When we talked earlier about how you use DataSync, I mentioned that DataSync uses an agent to connect to the on-premises storage system and AWS storage services. While many of our customers are using DataSync to migrate or protect their on-premises data in AWS, we also have a number of customers that are using DataSync to copy data between AWS managed storage services like S3 EFS and FSx for Windows File Server. Previously, you would have to deploy an agent regardless of whether you were moving data on-premises or in the cloud. But with this new feature, DataSync now provides fully automated transfers between AWS storage services without the need for in-cloud infrastructure. With this feature, you can now do things like quickly and easily creating tasks to replicate your managed file systems to another AWS region for additional protection of your data. You can also use this feature to copy data between S3 and your file system, say to populate your data lakes or additional processing. You can also use this feature to copy some or all of your data from one S3 bucket to another. Each of the DataSync features I mentioned today are usable in all AWS regions where DataSync is supported. You joined AWS Summit to learn, and you can keep learning beyond the summit with resources from AWS training and certification for AWS storage services. We offer 35 digital and on-demand courses in our storage products. For advanced learners, we offer the Architecting on AWS Classroom course that covers storage and other AWS products. You can also go deeper with labs, white papers, and other technical resources by downloading the AWS Ramp-Up Guides. For more information, visit aws.training/storage. Thanks for your time today, and please remember to complete the survey. Thanks and have a great day.